episode of the MHQ podcast. My name's Callum Dart. I'm the head of corporate services here, and I'm joined with my colleague Janitha, who is our labour and immigration team leader. Janitha, how's things today?
Hi, Callum. Things are great today. Thank you for having me on the podcast to discuss about the UAE immigration.
No problem at all. Thank you for joining. So, as you can see, we're going to be focusing on the golden visa today. We are going to be touching on a couple of other elements around visas in general, but predominantly focusing on golden visa. So let's kick things off. As you're all probably aware, COVID-19 pandemic was a bit of a nightmare. I think actually that's an understatement. It was awful. But there have been some major changes that have been introduced post-COVID. So we're keen to talk to you about those. Particularly the last quarter of 2022, I think there was some significant changes that were made. I'll let Janitha touch on that a little bit more.
Sure, yes. There has been a lot of changes in the UAE immigration with their ever-expanding menu of visas available, which is a great news for high net worth individuals and foreigners to secure both mid and long-term residence visa in the country, and in turn to capitalize on its many benefits that UAE has to offer.
Awesome. So let's actually go right back to 2021, where I think there was quite a restrictive amount of visas available. Can you just run us through the options that were actually available to people back then?
Sure. So yes, back in 2021, the UAE offered standard UAE visa through employment and property investment. So the employment visas were valid for in the mainland and free zones, where it was for 3 years, while in mainland it was for 2 years. And the property visas were valid for 3 and 5 years, depending on the underlying investment value.
Okay, so yeah, as we said, pretty restrictive, only 2 options.
Yes.
Not a lot of choice for people. So since then, how have things started to evolve and expand? What are we looking at in this day and age?
So there are now 6 different type of visa. The one that got the most press is the golden visa, which is valid for 10 years. The other option consists of the specialist visa, which is also valid for 10 years, and the retiree visa, which is valid for 5 years, and green visa, which is valid for 5 years as well, and property visa, valid for 2 years, and the standard UAE visa, which is valid for 2 years.
Okay, perfect. So in such a short space of time, we've gone from 2 options up to 6, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
So what are the most popular routes that we're seeing? What's like the general inquiries you're getting? What are people asking you about?
Like I said just now, the most press was for the golden visa. So the most popular route is obviously the golden visa for high net worth individuals and the property investment visa. Both are linked to an underlying investment. So the golden visa through public investment can be obtained if an applicant has company with shares or revenue which is above 82 million, and other option would be to have a fixed deposit in their personal bank account for more than 2 years, and the revenue, the deposit needs to be for 2 million dirhams as well. Now, talking about the property investment visa, the property value, if it is 87,50,000 dirhams, then it will be approved for a 2 years visa. And if the property is more than 2 million dirhams, the applicant will receive a 10 years golden visa. Now, speaking about the property visa, there are underlying conditions that needs to be followed if one has to get a property visa. So now the property should be constructed and it needs to be fit for habitation, and property owners can apply for a long-term visa if it is purchased for 2 million dirhams or more. And this now also applies to owners who have chosen to mortgage the property or have entered into an off-plan agreement with the developer, so that qualifies them to get the 2 years. Previously, this was not the case, so this is a newly introduced regulation which came in effect in Jan 2024, and which is a great news for many investors, because not everyone wants to pay the 2 million dirhams upfront, so they can get on a mortgage plan and easily get the golden visa. And the last but not least is the title deed needs to be under the applicant name, and they need to be the direct owner. So it cannot be through a company or a foundation. It needs to be under the individual name.
Okay, brilliant. That's very interesting. So yeah, we know golden visas are fairly new to UAE. But what you just mentioned is it has been around. So people know about the golden visa, but there have been changes that have been made as well, particularly in the property element of the eligibility. So yeah, absolutely. If you've got a property, think about if you're eligible. If you were previously looking and you weren't eligible because of a mortgage or you hadn't paid off a certain amount on that property, that might have all changed now. So it's definitely worth reconsidering.
Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. So what about the other options? Talk to me about a retiree visa.
So the other options are retiree visa, which also is tied to an underlying investment. So the retiree visa through UAE investment can be either as a fixed deposit, again in a personal bank account, but needs to be placed for 3 years, or again, property worth more than 81 million would qualify for a retiree visa, which is again valid for 5 years. And the other options, they are primarily linked with the skills category. So there's specialist visa, which is valid for 10 years, and this is available for executive directors, doctors, artists, scientists, and sportsmen. Now, last but not least, it's the green visa. This is still not in effect, but has been introduced in the UAE since last year. Hopefully, it will be in effect this year. And to qualify for the green visa, a skilled employee with salary of above 15,000 dirhams can qualify, or an investor with more than one business in the UAE, and entrepreneurs with income more than 360,000 dirhams per year would also qualify for the green visa.
Awesome. So yeah, there's a little bit to think about with all these visas. There are a couple of requirements that need to be hit for each. But the one thing that comes to my mind is the fact that we've gone from 2 visas to 6 now, and it's just opening up a massive pool of people that can come to the UAE. I think it really shows the fact that the UAE is thinking long term. Whereas before, it was a case that people would come to the UAE, they'd do a couple of years, maybe 1, 2, extend to 3, 4, save a bit of money, and then they'd go back home. But I think what these options do is reflect that actually they want people to stay. They want people to reinvest their money here. They're looking long term. So the retiree visa, for example, if you needed to stay in the UAE before, you would have to have a company or you'd have to be an employee. Now they're saying, guys, the doors are open. Come and retire. Come and settle down. Bring your family. It's long term. So it's a really positive thing to see, and I'm sure we're going to see it develop further in the next couple of years. Got to remember that this is just the start. So I know we said this podcast is actually about golden visas. So let's dive in a little bit deeper to that. Can you just touch on the benefits of what a golden visa would do for people?
Sure. So obviously there are a lot of benefits connected with the golden visa, and why we recommend golden visa for high net worth individuals. So the golden visa holders can sponsor their family members, including spouses, children, and support staff without any limit. So if you're standard visa holders, there is a limit to sponsor support staff, like say 1 or 2 people. And with golden visa, it's unlimited. They can hire as much as support staff they want to. And also the other main important benefit is the no restrictions on the duration of the time they stay outside the UAE. So in a standard visa, they need to enter every 6 months or 1 year if it's an investor visa. But with golden visa, they don't have to come 6 months once or 1 year once. They can stay as long as they want to outside the UAE. So which is great news for people who are always traveling around the world for business purposes. And family members are allowed to stay in the UAE in case or in the event of death of the original golden visa holder until the visa expires. And there is no sponsor link to the golden visa or an employer, which is required in the standard visa. So it is a self-sponsored golden visa. Now, again, the visa is valid for 10 years. They don't have to renew the visa every 2 years, do the medical every 2 years, and return to UAE every time to do these things. So they can stay without any tension for 10 years and come back 10 years once to redo the renewal, which is great news for high net worth individuals. And also, last but not the least, the main point is it creates a stronger nexus and connection with the country of residence, which is the UAE. So these are the benefits of the Golden Visa, which is available for Golden Visa holders.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for the overview there. So yeah, the Golden Visa to me is that, like you just said, perfect for high net worth individuals, people who are traveling, people who have got multiple businesses around the world. They might be having properties in various locations and they don't want to spend all their time in the UAE. Or as a matter of fact, they might be too busy in a 12-month period to actually come back at all. But it allows for that flexibility. So they're being far more open to people, and it's a really good thing to see. Honestly, I'm very excited to see where this goes. I know we've already had a massive increase in people inquiring about this. Obviously, the eligibility has got far easier. So if anybody is considering it, if you've been on the fence, if you've previously inquired about one, and you think now is the time to get it, or you'd like just to know a little bit more information about it, we have actually got our residents in the UAE fact sheet that's available. You'll see on the screen now that it can be accessed via a QR code, or we will share the link for it attached to our website. Or alternatively, if you'd like to speak to Janitha or I to get more information on what you've just heard or any information that you've heard from elsewhere, we'll be available on call or email or available face-to-face for a meeting. I think that's probably all we've got time for today. But thank you very much for your time, Janitha. Really appreciate you joining.
Thank you, Callum. Just like you said, so our emails are on the screen and our numbers are there. We have 4 offices. They can reach out to us through any of the office, and we are always here, happy to help. And see you all soon in another episode.
Thank you very much. Yes, tune in next time. We've got much more to come from this mini series. Looking forward to seeing you all again soon.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye bye.